My boyfriend publicly humiliated me on TikTok, calling me the most hideous girl he's ever been with before dumping me, so I disappeared without a word. This morning, after ignoring 37 of Jake's calls, I opened my door to find him sobbing on his knees. So, Jake and I have been together for almost 3 years. I met him when I was 21. He was the guy who knew how to fix the garbage disposal. When it jammed, first green flag. Or so I thought. We exchanged Instagrams, started texting, and the rest just kind of happened. The past 3 years have been mostly good. We had our rhythm, Netflix documentaries on Thursdays, his mom's for dinner every other Sunday, camping trips with his friends in the summer. He always remembered my birthday and actually listened when I talked about my day. These days, that's practically unicorn behavior. Side note, my last boyfriend before him thought emotional labor was a type of childbirth, so my bar was admittedly on the floor. Fast forward to this Tuesday. I'm scrolling on my phone during lunch, and my phone dings with a text from my friend Lila. It's just a TikTok link with "Call Me Now" in all caps. Lila is not the dramatic type. She once texted slight issue when her apartment was literally flooding. I click the link, and there's Jake. He's at Throwbacks, that dive bar his buddies always hang at on Mondays. I could tell by the neon Budweiser sign behind him that flickers every 7 seconds we counted once while waiting for our order. He's clearly 6 beers deep, red-faced, arms slung around his friend Noah. Someone off camera asks, "So, rate your girlfriend, bro," and y'all, the look on his face changed. It wasn't his normal smile. It was this weird smirk I'd never seen before, like he was about to let everyone in on some private joke. Sophie, honestly, probably the most hideous girl I've ever been with, like a 4 on a good day. The bar erupts in O's, and someone yells, "Savage!" Jake just laughs and keeps going. But she cooks really good enchiladas and never complains when I go out with the boys, so I keep her around. Low maintenance, Then someone asks if he's worried I'll see the video. His response? Nah, she doesn't even know what TikTok is. Besides, thinking about upgrading soon anyway. Too much baggage. The timestamp showed it was posted at 11:43 p.m. Monday night while I was at home doing a freaking clay mask and texting him goodnight. The video had 177,000 views, 17,000 likes. I sat there in the break room, just staring at my phone. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just felt this weird cold feeling spreading through my chest. 3 years together, and this is what he actually thinks of me? The night before, he'd been at my place. We'd made dinner together, talked about maybe moving in when my lease ends in August. He'd kissed me goodbye and said, "Love you, babe," like it was nothing. And apparently, 12 hours later, I was the hideous girlfriend he was planning to dump. I texted Lila back, "Coming over after work, don't tell anyone," then muted all notifications, put my phone in my bag, and somehow made it through 3 more client appointments without completely breaking down. Autopilot is weird like that. After work, I didn't go home, went straight to Target, bought a cheap duffel bag, filled it with essentials toothbrush, deodorant, phone charger, couple t-shirts. Spent $47.16. The receipt is still in my wallet for some reason. Drove to Lila's apartment complex at 6:13 p.m. Sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, just staring at nothing, playing that video over and over in my head. I keep thinking about all the times Jake told me I looked beautiful. When I dressed up for his company Christmas party, when I was sick with the flu last winter, 3 weeks ago when we were at the beach, and I was so self-conscious about wearing a bikini. All lies? Or just things you say when you're with someone? Lila didn't ask questions when I showed up, just pointed to her couch bed, 2 glasses of the cheap rose. We drank in college and said, "What's the plan?" That's when I decided I'm not giving him the satisfaction of a breakup conversation, no tears, no begging, no dramatic confrontation he can tell his bros about later. I'm just going to disappear. We spent that night making a checklist. blocked Jake on everything: phone, Instagram, Twitter, changed all my passwords, he knew most of them, called out from work for the rest of the week, told only my mom where I really am. By midnight, Jake had texted 7 times. Normal stuff at first: hey, what do you want for dinner? And you still coming over tonight? By morning, it was, where are you? And why aren't you answering? By afternoon, he'd called 12 times. Not one mention of the TikTok, not one apology, nothing. I stayed at Lila's Wednesday and Thursday, binged all of Love Island trash TV. It's surprisingly therapeutic when your life is imploding, cried in the shower so Lila wouldn't hear. Ordered too much Uber Eats because neither of us felt like cooking. Friday morning, Lila went to my apartment to grab more of my clothes. Said Jake had clearly been there, empty energy drink cans on the counter, his jacket thrown over my couch. He'd left a note taped to my door: call me, we need to talk. Still nothing about why we might need to talk, like I'm supposed to just not know about the video. The TikTok mysteriously disappeared from his account on Thursday night, too late though. It had already been screen recorded and was making rounds in our friend group. My phone was blowing up with, "Are you okay?" texts from people I haven't talked to in months. The weekend was a blur of ignoring calls from unknown numbers, Jake using his friends' phones once he realized I'd blocked him, and jumping every time someone knocked on Lila's door. Grace from my old community college group chat sent me screenshots of Jake's Instagram stories, vague posts about missing someone, and biggest mistake of my life was sad song lyrics, classic Damage Control. Sunday night, 26 missed calls. Monday morning, 32. I finally went back to work on Monday. My manager hugged me when I walked in, apparently. The video had made it to her FYP too, told me to take another day if I needed it. I said no, I needed normal, needed to focus on something other than the dumpster fire that was my relationship. Jake showed up at the salon during my lunch break. I hid in the supply closet while my coworker told him I wasn't there. Heard his voice, that familiar low rumble I used to love through the door. Sounded tired. Good. By Tuesday morning, exactly 1 week since I'd seen the video, the missed call count was at 37. His latest text just said, "Please. I needed to swing by my apartment for my mail, had a package that needed a signature, figured 8:00 a.m. Was safe since Jake usually leaves for work at 7:30. I was wrong. I unlocked my door, and there he was, sitting on my welcome mat, the one he gave me that says home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. He looked up when he heard my keys. YALL, the man was a wreck. Hadn't shaved, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same Metallica shirt he'd had on in his Instagram story from 2 days ago. When he saw me, he literally crumpled, not in a fake dramatic way, like his body physically gave out. On his knees, tears immediately streaming, saying my name over and over. I just stood there, keys still in hand, felt nothing, then everything, then nothing again. Sophie, please, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said those things. I was drunk, the guys were pressuring me, I never meant any of it. Please just talk to me. I cut him off. I saw what you really think of me. There's nothing to talk about. Stepped around him like he was a piece of furniture. Got my mail, walked back to my car. He followed me to the parking lot, still crying, still begging. Got in my car, locked the doors, drove back to Lila's. He called 5 more times before I even made it across town. So that brings us to now. It's been exactly 8 days, 4 hours, and 22 minutes since I saw that video, since I realized the person I trusted most in the world sees me as a convenient placeholder until something better comes along. I don't know what happens next. Part of me, a small, stupid part, misses him, misses the routine, misses believing I was loved. I keep replaying his words from the video. Hideous, upgrade, so casual, so cruel. 3 years together, and that's what I'm worth. We'll update when there's more to tell. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. First update, YALL, remember me? The girl whose boyfriend of 3 years called her hideous on TikTok and then had the audacity to act shocked when she disappeared? Yeah. That's still me, unfortunately. First of all, thank you for all the support on my last post. It's been exactly 17 days since I saw that video, and 9 days since Jake showed up crying on my doorstep. Let me tell you, things have gotten weird. So, after I left Jake in the parking lot that morning, Tuesday, 8:43 a.m., according to my car's timestamp, I drove straight back to Lila's place in full zombie mode, the whole drive. My phone kept lighting up with calls. Jake had apparently moved on to using his mom's phone to reach me, which is a special kind of desperate. When I got back to Lila's, I just sat in her kitchen, staring at the faded Live Laugh tequila magnet on her fridge. I couldn't cry anymore. It was like my emotions had finally reached their data limit for the month. Lila came home from her shift around 2:00 p.m. and found me in the exact same position, still in my coat. She just sighed, handed me a White Claw from the fridge lime, the superior flavor, and said something that actually made me think. She asked if I'd been noticing red flags with Jake all along, but had just been filtering them out. At first, I was defensive. Jake and I had a good relationship. He remembered my birthday. He watched The Bachelor with me, even though he hated it. He never complained when my hair clogged the shower drain. The bar is literally in hell these days, and I thought he was clearing it with room to spare. But then Lila started asking specific questions. Did Jake ever make jokes about my appearance before? Well, there was that time he said my favorite jeans made me look kind of wide, but in a cute way. And when I got highlights last summer, he asked if the salon meant to make them that brassy. And he did have a weird habit of pointing out celebrities he found attractive always, the super thin, no makeup types who look nothing like me. Did Jake support my goals? I mean, he said he was proud when I got promoted last year, but also suggested maybe I shouldn't take it, because the stress might be too much. When I talked about maybe going back to school someday, he always changed the subject to how expensive it would be. Did Jake have equal standards for our relationship? Thinking about it, not really. If I was 15 minutes late meeting him, I'd get a series of increasingly annoyed texts, but he could cancel plans last minute to hang with the boys, and I was supposed to be cool with it. By the time we finished our White Claw, I had this sinking feeling in my stomach. The TikTok wasn't some bizarre, out-of-character moment. It was just the first time I'd seen what had been there all along, without the filter of wanting to believe we were perfect. That night, Jake escalated to a new level. At exactly 9:17 p.m., Lila's doorbell rang. We both froze like we'd been caught committing a crime. Through the peephole, Jake, holding the saddest-looking grocery store flowers I've ever seen. Lila went full mama bear mode. She opened the door just enough to block the view inside and told him I wasn't there. I could hear his voice cracking as he begged her to just let him talk to me for 5 minutes, said he hadn't slept in days, said he'd lost 7 pounds, said he'd do anything to fix this. After Lila finally got him to leave, she found a handwritten letter he'd slipped under the door, 8 pages, front and back. I have to admit, I read it twice. It was a lot. Tear stains on the paper. Promises to spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Explanations about how he was drunk, how his friends were peer pressuring him, how he'd been having a bad day at work, classic deflection bingo. But one line actually got to me. I said those horrible things because I'm insecure and afraid you'll realize you're too good for me. For about 20 minutes, I actually considered calling him. That's how messed up my brain was, like he humiliated me publicly, and I was feeling bad for him. Thankfully, Lila's Wi-Fi chose that exact moment to crash classic Thursday night Xfinity outage, so we couldn't even stream anything. Instead, we ended up going through old photos on my phone, and that's when I had my first real epiphany. In literally every picture of Jake and me together from the past year, I'm looking at him with this big smile, and he's either looking at his phone, or off to the side, or making some stupid face, not a single one where he's looking at me the way I'm looking at him. How did I never notice that before? Friday morning brought a new development. My brother Lucas called to tell me that Jake had shown up at his apartment at 7:00 a.m., asking if he knew where I was. Lucas, being the overprotective brother he is, told Jake that if he came by again, they'd be having a different kind of conversation. Dramatic, but I appreciate the sentiment. By that point, I was actually starting to feel smothered by all of Jake's attempts to contact me. It wasn't romantic, it was uncomfortable. So I did something I'd been avoiding. I drafted a text, simple, direct, no room for misinterpretation, I need space. Please stop contacting me, my friends, and my family. I'll reach out if I'm ready to talk. Sent it at 10:22 a.m. Immediately turned my phone off for 3 hours because I couldn't handle seeing his response. When I finally checked again, there were 5 paragraphs waiting for me. The gist, he understood. He'd respect my boundaries, he'd wait forever if that's what it took, followed immediately by 3 more texts asking when forever might end, and if we could please just meet for coffee next week. So much for respecting boundaries. The weekend was actually peaceful. Lila's roommate Grace was out of town visiting her parents, so we had the place to ourselves. We ordered in, did face masks, watched all 3 Magic Mike movies for the plot, obviously, and I went a full 24 hours without checking my phone. It felt like coming up for air after being underwater. Sunday night, though, things took another turn. I was scrolling through Instagram before bed, bad habit. I know when I saw it. Jake had posted a video. Not just any video, a public apology to me. Tagged me in it and everything.